It's a big welcome to Talking Hawks, a Friday edition for those that are joining us just live. I'm Matt. I've got Mackenzie here, who has been a big part of the Talking Hawks family over the years, and got all the way up to Darwin. So we've nabbed him while he's in the hotel. So hello, one and all. If you're a regular, please, you know the drill. We want to have a great chat about the game that's just been. What did you like? Questions, observations. Nothing is off limits, so we'll enjoy this chat because I think it was a risk for me. I thought we could get a little bit blown away in this match. They played up there, the Suns, that is, in TIO last week, and I don't actually know if they travelled or they stayed up there, because just even the acclimatization for me, that would have been a good advantage. Not to say they're already closer to that sort of year-round temperature, but we had our efforts, and while we let everybody in, Mackenzie, it's great to have you on board again. You've joined us for a podcast, but we've got you on the big screen now, so welcome. And do you want to maybe let the other audience members know how you came to follow the Hawks?
I was a Sydney boy, born and bred, and grew up probably following rugby league, but spent a lot of time in Victoria, married a Victorian woman, started farming in Victoria, and realised that if I didn't follow an AFL team, I wasn't going to be able to talk to anybody. So she nagged me to pick a team, and Alistair Clarkson had just been appointed. Jeff Kennett became the president, and I came running home and said, right, I've picked a team. I think Hawthorn's only going to go one way. We were second from the bottom, and just after the merger, talked with Melbourne, and away we went. And I've had a lovely time since. So very glad to be on board.
Good choice. So we've got a man with some good judgment here with us, good timing, and I love that you got on when they're at the bottom as we ride the bumps with the green. So welcome, Kerry, Con, Ross, Maxwell. Hello to you. Few good comments. Keep them coming. We'll flash them up. But let's start. So you got up to Darwin, Mackenzie. I've spent a little bit of time up there. How was the overall experience in Darwin, from your opinion? Because it definitely sounded like there was some really good support for the Hawks.
Oh yeah, really good support. And in fact, I think it was interesting when, you don't know what actually makes it to the broadcast, but when the Hawks chant started going around and people were clapping and cheering, it seemed like we had the overwhelming numbers. And when we really started to get back into it, tremendous support, and I'm pretty sure the boys would have heard it loud and clear.
Yeah. Well, it's coming through the TV, which was great to see, and a lot of brown and gold. So, and the big question: did you happen to see Cyril?
From a distance, I saw him, and once people had, all the people in the crowd, someone had seen something on their phone, and once word got out that he was here, I think that the general opinion was, though, that he was probably a keener supporter of the Suns than for us. But how would we know? I think that was just the supposition of people in the crowd at the time.
Well, there was a Rioli on one of the wings, one of the stands, and named after one of the members of his family, and then one on the field. So good on him for getting out. It was nice to see Hodgie. There was a quick Channel 7 throw where they zoomed in when Hodgie was talking to him, and he mentioned that was the first time they'd spoken since 2018. So lovely to see that sort of stuff. I know Sam pre-match said he wasn't sure whether he might turn up. So whether it was with Hawthorn, I'm sure I know the invite would have been there. So that was exciting to see, and I think a little bit heartwarming personally. So, but we get to the footy. It's tricky conditions when it is a bit wet and not clearly hot. Sam's record in Darwin, I know he'd be hating it. We had a good chance this time and tried to learn from the first time where they maybe just flew up the day before and went through the motions as a younger, less experienced coach. They've really had a good crack this time. I think they did their homework. We probably just got beaten by a stronger midfield for mine on the day. But fans, what did you think? I think we had a few good comments here firing through, Mackenzie. So I think, Hawks, says Ross, the Hawks did pretty well considering losing clearances, contested possessions. Absolutely.
100%, yeah.
DS, of course, any loss hurts, and even more so, we'd had a chance to win, but I think we did much better than expected. That's really where I was at.
Yeah, I wish I was a much better person at losing, and I suppose ever the pessimist. And I wish I could say, well, that was a really noble loss, but I did come away quite proud. And it's interesting. We were just chatting offline beforehand, Matt, and I never felt that we were out of touch with the game. And I said to the mate that I was travelling with, I said, no, I've got this feeling. Second quarter, third quarter, I think we're going to come back. Bit of a shock, but I just felt we weren't far behind it the whole time.
Wiz gave us a spark, and we'll get to that. But a couple of good questions here, or observations. Where was it? Yeah, it wasn't a bad, says Sean, bad loss, considering it was our B team, 4 outs, rest, other reasons. So we had a little chat before the game. Give us your thoughts, Mackenzie, on all that.
A lot of the talk up here, in the bars and breakfast here in the hotel, was people saying, we shouldn't have rested this person, and if only we'd bought that person, and all the rest of it. And I think I have tremendous faith in our medical staff and in Sam. And I think if I can put a really positive spin on that, I'm hoping and believing that we took the people up there that we thought we could win the game with, and the people that we didn't take, we genuinely thought would struggle. It's a long flight up. If you've never played up here or been up here, you just can't understand how difficult it is to breathe, how hot you get. The fatigue is off the scale. And I'm hoping that we've rested the right people so that come Brisbane, Collingwood, Dogs and Adelaide, we're going to be getting more out of those people in the next couple of weeks, which is way more important.
Con, beat you to the main point there. I think short-term pain, long-term gain, resting some players. I wholeheartedly agree. We'll never know. It's a juggling act. Sometimes I've looked at a couple of players this season and wondered if they're carrying a bit of an injury here or there, and if they're a bit sore. That distance and the heat, it does take its toll, I believe. So I think, yeah, Kelsh, I'm glad he got to play though, because he's a young, the younger bodies will recover faster, and he's going to be better for the runs because he's building the game time minutes. At that point in the game, before they had subbed him off, that was what I thought. Just watching him, we'd probably be better off giving him a spell. If actually at that point Reeves was on the bench and he'd come, tumbling down pretty hard, and I was like, well, if he's injured, fair enough, you got to do Reeves. But look, he didn't give up the whole time. Different conditions than Kelsh's probably ever played in. So no shots at the young man, but I think we've probably played the long game here, and we've got a tough little stint, a few upcoming opponents. So I think the midfield though, we were talking pre-game. Everyone, give us your thoughts on the midfield, because my goodness, no Anderson. Geez, it hurts watching that boy every time he does well against us. And Loz was one of our regulars on this. She was just like, he's got 3 Brownlow votes in the last couple of matches against us. Why the heck did we not do that job properly? So I just did a little bit of digging. I think the commentary said at the start of the third, it looks like Finn McGuinness was going to be running with him. And so don't always see everything on the television, mind you. So it's great you're here, Mackenzie. But Noah's first half, he had 9 in the first, 12 in the second, 7 and 7 in the third and fourth. So I don't know if you noticed with Finn, interestingly, he was all defensive in the first quarter, his time on the ground, where he was on the ground, 73% in the second quarter, where he was the most damaging in terms of disposals. And his efficiency was fairly good throughout. But then he less defensive, 58%, 75% in the third and fourth. So what really hurt was his 6 clearances in the second quarter. And then in the fourth was his 2 goal assists. For me, that were a couple of standouts. And I know I'm talking about the opponent here, but it's like we need to work out how we're going to do that. And Sam sort of touched on it a little bit in the presser, that midfield, which got a little bit more to go to keep up with some of the best in the comp.
Yeah, I was thinking it was almost like at one stage there I thought I was going to be talking Suns, not talking Hawks, because the people that stood out to me, like Rao, Miller, and Anderson, it was like a three-headed monster. And every time we'd put one onto one, the other would get off the chain. They'd have a bit of a breakout. So then Sam would go, okay, now we're going to put, a tighter tag on this one, and then the other one would get out. And so, we tried different people at different stages on, and you would negate their influence and their role, but then one of the other two or both would then bob up. And, that's the thing about the tag. What do you gain? What do you lose? And I think the problem that we had was to stop all three of those guys is near on impossible. And if you manage to lock down one or sort of two of them, then the others will get off the chain. But that's a very impressive midfield, and I think we did actually really well to hold our own.
Yeah. DS, he's on point. Yes, it does hurt the father-son. DS also said Meek may have been the difference. Potentially, Reeves on television looked like he did okay covering the ground. I was a bit more impressed with what I saw at times when the ball gets ahead of him. He's never going to be, a wizard with his pace, Nick Watson, but the head goes down and he keeps trying to get to the right spots at the right time. It looked like he covered the ground okay, but I think with the rule change, and don't ask me to be technical on the ruck rule, but when Meekie really got that change of rule really hurt Reeves. What I did notice is his upper body looks a lot stronger, and that was part of where Meek, I think, had it over him because the opponents were having their way a little bit of just pushing him around, whereas Meek has clearly done a lot of work. So for almost 12 months out, I think Sam said, since he last played, he did okay. How did you see Reeves' game on the ground?
I mean, it's interesting. I've just watched 3/4 of the game. That's all I could fit in this afternoon. And at the game, I was thinking that Ned was well and truly sort of outclassed, and maybe that was part of the reason why the clearances went against us so heavily. When I watched it on TV, his performance actually looked a lot better. And again, this is this sort of tactical question about, would it have been better to have Meekie here? And then what's the price that we pay for the next 4 weeks? It was a big call for Ned to come up, having played, predominantly, in the VFL. But he's done really well. I think he held his own, but I would just say it probably his performance looked better on the TV than it did live.
Okay.
And I suppose, again, when you get the real closer view, I think he did a good job. And again, I think we're going to be better for having Meekie next week fresh and fit.
Yep. Well, I do know, look, Meek carries the majority of it, unlike, there's not too many ruckmen that do quite as much. His average hitouts to advantage, not to advantage, his average hitouts is 35. Reeves got 34 for the game. So I think, between Moore and Witts, having a good crack at him, two big bodies. Weddle in there wasn't really, whilst you need a chop out, wasn't going to give too much competition with the size of Witts and Moore. But regardless, in this midfield mix, there's also the chemistry of the ruckman. Meek's really developed that with that core, albeit we don't have Day and Nashi in there. So some of these comments here around the mids, I want to go back to them because it's a part of the conversation. What could we have done? Do you have any ideas as fans what you would have liked to have seen? And yes, apart from the Anderson, we've touched on that. Nashi back next week. Good point, Con. That will be absolutely well received by all Hawthorn supporters. Huss, maybe, he's not going to get as many midfield jobs, ball ups. He'll be around clearances around the ground when he's in. I do like how clean he is, the speed for mine with Huss. He needs games just to know how and when to run and how to approach it. And I think the midfield also has to work in with Huss. If he's got some deficiencies in certain areas, i.e. maybe speed a little bit, we'll cover it. There's 4 of you in there. I think we can do it because his hands, lightning, like his decision making is some of the cleanest I've seen for a long time from a young fella, which I love. So I want to see him get more of a go on the midfield. While I'm looking here in the comments, any other thoughts from you, Mackenzie?
No, I was hoping that there'd be more sort of comments there that we could follow up on. But again, a guy that just sort of stood out. I thought Cam Mackenzie, in and under and out. You know, I just think he improves every week. And I suppose again, if we're looking at opportunities and trying to look at the game as a half full rather than a half empty, we have given a lot of guys. You know, Bailey McDonald's one. You know, if we had everybody on the park, would Bailey McDonald, be having a run? And my answer would probably be no. We're talking about Huswade and some of these other guys. Well, the reason why they're getting a game is because we've had, I think, some of our better players out through either suspension or injury.
Yeah.
So the fact that some of these young guys are having a run, I think we're blooding some players. Yeah.
I thought Mackenzie's game was very good last night, and when I wrote down who I thought was good, it was a long list, but he was right up there. Dan makes a really good point. G'day, mate. It's good to hear from you. The Reeves serviceable, agreed. It is. Meek does it all, doesn't he? It's a great observation there, Dan. I think he's got to be top 3 ruckman in the league, so he's going to be a bit of a hole. And I think Warple, Newcomb, solid games. Both those boys holding their own. Probably more weight and responsibility. If you've got some youngsters in there as well, it's like how well can you communicate and guide them on how and when to run and the blocking and all of that sort of stuff. I know there was the tagging that was going on and the blocking. I watched some of that in the third a bit more closely when Anderson and Finn were at it. So there's all those dynamics as well, because the younger boys don't have the strong bodies, and perhaps, still learning a few tricks. But all right. Well, that was good on the midfield. I think had a red hot crack. I like seeing Maury in there when he went in. Do you throw in I don't know. I'm open. I like that they're just trying to put midfield minutes into some of these boys and more attendances to the centre clearances. So, but look, they pantsed us on the centre clearances across the ground. So
I saw David Hale. Hale out for dinner, and I was dying to interrupt him and ruin his night and actually ask him, is there any chance we can have the whiz in a couple of centre bounces? Because I don't know what we lose up front. And it's funny that I just thought he was electric and gave the team so much sort of energy and enthusiasm and lit up the crowd. And when he got it and took the marks and whatever, the crowd was energised, the players were energised, and we'll probably get on to Wiz's game.
Yep.
But I wish I understood what we would lose up front by just letting him have a couple of runs in the centre, because I just think if he didn't get caught, he is such a ferocious defender and tackler and second and third effort. And I personally, I just wanted to see him have a bit of a run through just to see what he could do.
Love it. I think let's go there with Wiz. And then I'm going to go to you for an observation on perhaps our zone, Mackenzie, because there was a question earlier. But the Wiz kept us in it. He kept our head above water, and really, I think you did notice on television anyway, it lifted the team significantly when he was up and about kicking goals. And I think the one that he kicked from the boundary, who did he go to? I think maybe it was Weddle on the other side. I was sitting there with my boys on the couch and like, have a shot, 2 of us, and the other son's like, nah, it's okay. I'm like, look, you want to back Weddle in, but I'm like, mate, he's on. It was almost too unselfish. Like, I would have loved to have seen him going for it on that occasion, but maybe there's the team rules that I'm not aware of. But the Wiz, hey?
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. Like, just as I said, if he didn't bring his teammates into it, he certainly brought the crowd into it. And every time he took a mark or did something, like the crowd just screamed and clapped and cheered. And I can understand, the opposition probably hate him, and I'm sure he even feeds off that energy.
Totally
And,
does. And we love it.
we just completely love it. And the more they scream, blue murder, the happier we are.
It's a tough role, but he knows how to play. 12 disposals. He's gone at 67%, but 6 of those were contested, which I love. And, 8 effective disposals, but 3 inside 50s as well. His run, you cannot. His defender, mate, I think he wanted a boy to be thrown out to him at times. He was off the boat. He was in trouble a few times, and one time tackled him over the line, and his head just sunk. He was like, "Oh, phew!" I've taken him over
Thank
the line.
goodness he went over. Yeah.
So yeah, tough ask for any opponent. 5 tackles though, which was right up there for us on the day. Guinea with 9 as well, which I liked. Guinea's game. I think he did a few good things. I liked the maturity of the goal that he kicked. It was important at the time. What were your thoughts on Guinea?
Really good, unselfish game. Again, I think he's much improved from his stint with Box Hill.
Yep.
And again, I think he played a better game than the week before, even. So,
I like seeing that. Yeah.
Yeah.
They've got a good connection, those two. Just back to that question, then I'll sort of catch up with these comments again. But this was earlier on. Did you notice anything? Because I always enjoy seeing it at the ground, and at the probably the ground level, not up in a stand. But were they poking holes in what the way we have a zone? What did you say at the ground? And maybe we seemed to be moving across the ground into a zone formation quickly from past weeks. I'm not sure we're not being at the ground this week.
And again, it is so fluid, and the perspective is so different. But what it looked like to me initially was, we were so early on, so roundly beaten in stoppages, that what we did was we brought more people up, and I think you can see that on TV, that the later stoppages, there was way more congestion. And the problem that you've got is that once you bring those people forward and they're there at the contest and up around the stoppage, then we're leaving holes in either defence or depending on where the guys are coming from. So there were certainly times when if the ball came out, there seemed to be, that time when you look across the ground and you just think, the Suns have got 5 more players than we have got. And again, I don't think the TV does it justice how there were a number of options that the Suns could have taken and we weren't able to cover it. But I think, again, that's because we had so many people up at the stoppage.
Yep.
And that's the trade-off. If we didn't have the people up at the stoppage, it would have just bounced out. Well, they are so efficient going forward, bang. So, you pull one lever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So,
all right. Conscious of time, we'll wrap it up by 7:30 tonight. So another 7 minutes. But I like this from Russell a while back. Hello, Russell. The tracks from the forward line to play Joel in the ruck. I think that's fair. Sometimes he gives us something in the ruck. Often it seems like, we just need to give a chop out to the ruckman. But he was one of the best on the ground, I would have thought, last night, just giving us a spark again. He still get the laconic Chol, but there was times when he chased hard, and he put 3 sausage rolls on the board. So that's always very handy from a big forward.
I just missed who that was, and I saw the comment on whoever made that. Look, 100% agree. But again, it comes down to that issue. And even, if we've got Miki there or whatever, if that's the really sad problem that you have to, that the ruckman come off or the ruckman needs a spell or whatever. And yes, are we getting the best bang for our buck having Joel in the middle? No, we're not. But he does a good job, I think, when he goes in there. Yes, we do lose horsepower up forward, and he was definitely, a really dominant, great asset to have there. And yes, not as much, but without him going into the ruck, Ned wouldn't have had a rest. And again, then you look and you say, okay, who are we going to bring in? Josh Weddle or whatever. So, yeah, unfortunately, that's the price you pay for people having a spell.
Yeah. We'll come back to that with some changes. There's some good comments going on. I think standout, Amon again in that heat, running the meters he did, always phenomenal. Carl, just what have we got him for? 884. It's up near his record, I believe. But you noticed Johnny Noble. Whew, my goodness.
Johnny Noble, 1,001 metres, I think, if that's correct. I think that's what I read. And I can tell you that being at the game, and I saw him a number of times close up and personal, it looked like it was 1,001. He was just the everywhere man and just pinpoint accuracy. And he, you'd almost say he looked like a James Sicily at his best, sort of, the low kick to a guy, and just, yeah, beautiful.
No, it's impressive. Noah Anderson as well, 800, and then Guinea 609. So good to see Guinea putting in those miles. I think his fitness is noticeably better this season. Like this from Sean Ramsden will be nice because he can play deep forward when you got Chol flying. Wiz flying when he needs to. Be interesting to see how and when he can fit into that forward mix. You've probably got Kalsha that bit ahead, but Rama would give us a little bit more in the ruck, I believe. And you can sort of use Weddle as a weapon in different spots. Hardwick, Mackenzie, you had some thoughts on Dimmer?
Well, we were thinking about, what questions would we pose to the audience, and again, some of the talk up here was, what's the best place for, Blake Hardwick to play or Josh Weddle to play? And if we had two Blake Hardwicks, if we could clone him, I'd say we'd play one forward and one back, and I'm really split. He just makes the back look so solid, and I feel so much more comfortable when he's there, and yet he pops up, takes a screamer and kicks a goal. And I think, thank goodness he's playing up forward now. So, but to my mind, Josh Weddle did not look comfortable early on up forward. Seemed way better down back and gave us some run. And I think of all the plays that we missed and probably could have gone, except for the birth of his child, Jarman Impey, he's one person that I just looked out and thought, boy, oh boy, I wish we had him tonight. That would have, I think, counted Noble a bit, and the run and playing to the conditions, and
so
all of
Nicholls round as well. He gets up for all of the Indigenous stuff. So regardless, I think a few good questions that I'm not going to be able to get to. I think TB was really solid. We won't go into it too much. Hopefully, the stitches, he's good. Mackenzie's hand. Look, it was a rough game. Both teams didn't take a back seat or backward step, sorry. So it's really solid. I think there was questions on who might be in and out. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let the conversation go on beyond this if we are wrapping this up too prematurely. But are we seeing 4 or 5 changes again this week? Have you got any noticeable, Mackenzie, that you think not quite enough from you? There's others knocking at the door.
Absolutely. I just hope Kalsha, if he can get back to anywhere near his best, that would be terrific. I'd like to see him stay in. I think, Meeky back would be great. Jarman Impey back would be terrific. So, I think good luck being a selector at Hawthorn, because I think that's tougher than coaching at the moment. I think we've got lots of options and opportunities for, young guys to have a kick. So,
question marks on a few plays sort of being rattled off here. I'm not going to get to them all. It's interesting. I think there's a little bit of a matchup pace, and then you look at the conditioning, you look at their health, you look at playing in our normal climate again. It wouldn't surprise me if we've seen another 4 or so changes, but Yeah, we'll
C-Mac,
see how everyone comes up. I think they're all play a brave face, but sometimes they're carrying a few aches and pains.
I love C-Mac to bits, and of the three names that were just put up,
Yep.
he was the only one that just seemed a little off.
Yep. I like this one. Redback, thank you. I'm sure we'd throw a hat in the ring if Jackson needed a new home in Melbourne. Depending on how much he's worth. I did like. Oh, see, it's interesting. I thought there was parts of Harry's game that were quite good.
Yeah.
It's the same with Wardy. There's parts of like, oh, but sometimes he does perfectly what he needs to do. So still learning as a group. Yeah, like this. Thank you, Shane. Tying it up nicely here in Nash Gunners make. I think that's hard to. You wouldn't question those at all. So there you go. You've got at least 3 changes. So, Mackenzie, thank you for jumping on your little Darwin trip. I think we've got who have we got next week? We have the Lions. Is it?
Yeah, Lions at the G, and
Lions at the G.
Yeah,
Saturday
plane
afternoon.
The plane lands at 4 o'clock, and I've just got to try and run to the game. So we'll might miss the first quarter, but yeah, we're going back to back.
Yeah. Well, give us your predictions. Throw them in there. See if you've potted, and you can boast about it next week. That's a big call from Redback Spider. But everyone, thanks for joining us tonight. Mackenzie, it's been great. I really appreciate you taking the time and giving us a perspective from the ground. And as a fan, it's up there, and it really did look like a good vibe. I think as a place, should we play more games up there?
Rather not. It's hard
nice
to
for
travel.
A break, a bit of warmth.
Nice, yeah. I think a bit of a shock. And look, can I just probably give a plug for the club? I think coming up early was a really smart move. They seemed way more conditioned. The fact that they trained, under the lights and got used to that for a couple of, runs were great. The other thing is I think they did untold good work around the community. If they weren't training, Matty Hill took the cups, with him and went down, I think, to Catherine or whatever. So, other than playing the game, and I know that's the most important thing, but I think a lot of the boys spent a lot of time doing a lot of community and cultural things while we're up here, and that makes them better humans and better players.
Absolutely. We love saying that. Good shout. So thanks one and all. Follow us on the socials. Thanks for joining us tonight. Keep the conversation going, and you should see a podcast coming out with 6 points. I think it's Tim and Chris this week. Tune into that on your favourite podcasting platform, and there'll be an MVP article out very soon. So enjoy one and all. Have a great weekend, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks.
Go Hawks.